Before you watch this video, there are two things you need to know. Number one, these videos were recorded in advance just to ensure that they all got edited and uploaded on time. So, any changes made in the couple of weeks before the season starts, those will be addressed in the first episode of WNBA Weekly. And the most important thing you need to know about this video is that I am not a member of the press. I am not in any way associated with the WNBA or any of their sponsors or affiliates. I'm just a guy who loves watching the sport and decided to make some videos where I give my opinions on the things that I see. Before you watch this video, there are two things you need to know. Number one, these videos were recorded in advance just to ensure that they all got edited and uploaded on time. So, any changes made in the Greetings and welcome to the Fan Perspective. I'm your host, Nathan Nile, and this is the WNBA 2018 Preseason Power Rankings. Preseason Power Rankings are where I look at how all the things that a team did during the off-season, and I try to determine how well I think they'll play during this year's regular season. And at number 10, I have selected the Las Vegas Aces. For those who don't follow the WNBA's off-season news, the San Antonio Stars was sold, the team was moved to Las Vegas. Lambieer is now the head coach and GM, and that's honestly the main reason I don't put this team in the playoffs. Because the talent is obviously there, and Lambieer, he's been a successful coach throughout his years. However, they're in an entirely new city. There's a lot to get used to. You've got a brand new head coach taking the reins. No matter, how storied he is, no matter how successful his career has been, that's a lot of turnover to deal with, an influx of new players. Good news is they've hired Vicki Johnson as an assistant coach, so having someone there, not only does she know their names and faces and how they walk, but they're familiar with her as well. That will ease the transition. And this team is basically the exact opposite of Chicago, because they went out in free agency. They got Carolyn Swords, they got Tamera Young, they traded for Kelsey. This team has been adding length and defense and veteran presence, adding depth at all the positions. Re-signing Kayla McBride was a great move. Looking forward to the continued development of young players like Kelsey Plum. In her second year, I think she was expected to win Rookie of the Year, and she probably would have if she wasn't injured the whole time. She's had multiple 20-point games. She's had a couple of double-digit assist games. Is this the year that she's going to do both of those at the same time? Maybe, maybe not. Kelsey Plum looks talented enough that by her third year in the league, she could be vying for potential MVP candidate. You've also got now adding the first overall draft pick, A'ja Wilson. And there have been a few franchises in the past that have kind of set a precedent. Like the Seattle Storm has done it twice, where they had two first overall picks in a row. First time they got Sue Bird and Lauren Jackson, and they went on to win a couple of championships. Then they got Joe Lloyd and Breanna Stewart, who should have been with the Stars, but no, they had to change that stupid rule. I'm always going to be a little bit angry about that, because I spent 2 years watching this team struggle, knowing that, hey, at least we can get a guaranteed first ballot Hall of Famer in that draft. And then halfway through the season, they just have to change that rule that year. And I tell you, I swear to God, Alicia Clark missed that layup on purpose. She knew what was at stake. You can't her fingers were like 2 inches from the rim. You can't tell me she didn't know what she was doing. So anyways, the Stars have the building blocks in place. They've added some length, they've added some veteran leadership, they've now got depth at every position. I'm looking forward to seeing the position battles. Where will Lambieer put each of these players? How will he use them? What kind of system will he put in place? I mean, if I had to guess, like I said, I don't know what he's gonna do, but I personally would have starting lineup: Plum, McBride, Young, Harrison, and Wilson. That's how I would put it. I don't know what he's going to do. A'ja Wilson, just by virtue of being the first overall pick, she's already the leading candidate for Rookie of the Year. And you saw Isabelle Harrison develop very well last year, getting some consistent double-doubles. It's hard to say how effective she'll still be. Well, how well will they use her? Is she going to have the same role in this new system? But the one thing I'm looking forward to, McBride, she's gotten better every year. She's healthy. Plum as well, she's healthy. Mariah, she's been rehabbing, so we'll see how well she does. She was on the bench last year. I don't know if she'll still be there, but if she does, she could be a potential 6th Woman of the Year candidate. And most importantly, as I talked about before, Kelsey Plum. I really think she's one of my favorite young players in the league. And I'm looking at her at potentially, I think she gets compared instantly to Diana Taurasi because of the scoring ability. And the one thing we just did not predict really was the assist. I remember she gets 12 assists, and then someone on Twitter says, I'm pretty sure that's more than she had in 4 years of college. I think that, because definitely when I looked at Kelsey Plum, the first thing that came to mind was that Kobe meme with pass, just get the rebound. So if this girl, like I said, we've seen her get a few 20-point games, we've seen her get some high assist game. If she can combine those two together, this team can be virtually unstoppable. And I think not only should they easily be able to match their win total from last year, they could potentially double it, potentially fight for the playoffs, though I think more than likely they're going to struggle a lot of the year just because, like I said before, new faces, new places, chemistry is going to be a huge issue for them. How well is it all going to fit together? Because the pieces are there. The pieces are in place. But there's a lot of new. And it might take a while for all of it to settle. But I definitely expect this team, if nothing else, they're going to affect the playoff race, even if they're not actually in it. They could easily play spoiler to a lot of hopefuls. Honestly, there's a small part of me that wants this team to get into the playoffs just so that they don't have another lottery pick. Can you imagine if this team actually does finish in the bottom 3 again and ends up winning the lottery and getting a 3rd straight first overall pick? That would be some bullshit. Then this team would be too powerful. And then we'd have to recommend disbanding all of them because they're bad for the game. They're dominating too much. I think the Minnesota Lynx are bad for the WNBA because they're winning too much. They're way too dominant. We need to disband all of them. We need to break up that whole team. So yeah, that's it for this video. Tune in tomorrow. I am really looking forward to number 9 because I put a team there that I know I am going to piss off every single one of you. So yeah, look forward to that. And until then, this has been The Fan Perspective. I'm your host, Nathan Lyle. This is going to be fun. Thanks for watching this video. This has honestly been the hardest power rankings I've ever had to do, and I always get 2 or 3 of these wrong anyways every single year. So if you disagree with anything I've said in this video, feel free to leave a comment telling me everything I said wrong and why.